back with Varsity House Podcast Sports Update. I'm your host, Sean Crawford, co-host Carl Jones, and special guest Troy West. We're talking, NFL free agency. March Madness is here, and we're also going to talk about NBA playoffs and take a look at that as well. So, let's get right to it. As far as NFL free agency, obviously the big news around town is Aaron Rodgers. Is Aaron Rodgers going to go to the Jets? I saw today that the deal is not done yet, but Aaron is working. Other deals, getting Alan Lazard a contract, trying to get some other receivers, there that he's played with in the past. And so obviously that's the biggest news, right now. And I think, hopefully it'll break soon. I'm sure he's going to end up choosing there. But we had Justin Hardy from the Jets. He's a Pro Bowler, special teamer on our previous episode. If you haven't checked it out yet, please go check it out. Great episode. He gave some insight into last year's season, what to expect this year, but also, the development of Sauce Gardner, the new coaching staff and all those things that, looks bright for the Jets. But touching on keeping on Aaron Rodgers, I pulled up some stats just to, see if it makes sense. Jets were 7-10 last year, obviously didn't make the playoffs, but they controlled their own destiny. They were in position to make the playoffs and unfortunately did not make the playoffs. But the Jets were 29th in total offense, 15th in passing offense, and 25th in rushing offense. Now, they have a ton of talent on the offensive side of the ball and defensive side of the ball. Obviously, they had the offensive rookie AP of the year players and Sauce Gardner and then Garrett Wilson, but also Breece Hall, who had a tremendous start to the season, who ended up getting hurt with an injury. He's coming back next year. Who else is on the roster? They have Elijah Moore at receiver, and so they got a bunch of talent. Great coaching staff. Saleh, who has a good past history with the Niners and things like that. So I think it's going to be a great fit. I compared it to the Packers. The Packers, although the Jets were 29th in total offense, Packers were 14th in total offense. Jets were 15th in passing offense, Packers were 17th, and Jets were 25th in rushing offense, Packers were 15th. And now you could say, the rushing offense could have been due to Breece Hall going down, but I think that'll pick back up. But also when you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, a lot of teams are going to be packing a box for the run. So you could be pretty successful in the run game. So I'm excited. I think he should go there. I think it's the right choice. I don't know what the holdup is or what, with the deal and everything, but I do think, once that deal is done, the Jets, are going to give the Bills a run for the money. And now you got the Dolphins, who just got Jalen Ramsey as well. So it's going to be a tough division. It's crazy to say that like the Patriots aren't the favorite. Obviously they've been the favorite for, the last 20 years, but now there's, new top dogs in town. So excited to see what happens on that end, but obviously excited to hear your takes on that situation as well.
I think the Jets situation adds, you need a little like nuance to the conversation because the record is one thing. And I know injuries are a part of football, but that offensive line they dealt with last year was completely decimated on the health front. I mean, I know they were rolling out guys who were practice squad guys early on and throughout various parts of that season. So that probably had a lot to do with the running game struggling. Obviously, they couldn't get any consistent play out of the quarterback position. Breece Hall going down doesn't help. That defense is legit. I mean, I saw them take it to Buffalo twice, and Josh Allen and their company never looked comfortable. So I think some of the numbers are skewed a little bit due to, just not great quarterback play whatsoever. And then also just the injuries that didn't help. And also whatever issues they had on the coaching staff on the offensive side, they got rid of Mike LaFleur, Matt LaFleur's little brother. So that coaching staff is gone as well. So I think it'll be a decent fit for Aaron. I mean, they got young guys. He's doing the Brady thing. When Brady went down to Tampa and brought his fellas with him, he brought Gronk with him. He said, hey, AB, come down with me too. So I really that doesn't really move me any type of way where people are upset with Aaron doing it. Well, Brady did it, and I know he doesn't have the cachet of a Brady. He obviously doesn't. And this is another thing that you can add to the Aaron Rodgers saga of things that like kind of annoy people about what he does. But I get that if it's him, like Brady did it, no one better than I went. That worked out for a Super Bowl world title. So as long as he has something still left in the tank, that remains to be seen. We don't know if last year was completely him falling off a cliff or just chemistry issues. But nonetheless, if you're the Jets, you have to make this move because, like you said, you're in a division with Josh Allen and a Dolphins team that's going all in. You can't just sit around and wait back.
Yeah, I agree. I think Aaron Rodgers is doing himself a little bit of a disservice by making the moves like Allen Lazard before he's even on the roster, because his price tag's going to keep going up. Now I feel like the Green Bay Packers have a lot of leverage now to kind of hold him back. I know he's got a no trade clause, but they're making these moves without even Aaron Rodgers on the roster. I thought they should have made the move for him first and then started building the pieces around him. So I'll be genuinely curious. They're saying they want multiple first-round picks at this point, and are the Jets really willing to give up the bank for a guy at Aaron Rodgers' age? It kind of reminds me a little bit of the situation with the Rams. They went for broke. They won their Super Bowl. They picked up Ramsey, Matthew Stafford. The list goes on and on. They won the Super Bowl, but now they've set themselves into cap hell, and they've set themselves up, where they're not going to be competitive for the next 5 to 10 years. So I'm going to be curious to see if the Jets, they've got a good young nucleus. I get that, but they're going to be giving up a lot of draft capital. It's going to be a huge hit to the salary cap to bring on Aaron Rodgers. So I'll be curious. I think it's going to happen. I don't think they would have made these moves if it wasn't. But it's going to be interesting. I think the Packers now are kind of sitting back and going, hey, he's still under our payroll, and it's going to take a hell of a lot to get him. Especially now that they went and got, like you said, Allen Lazard. So really curious how this plays out. I'm excited to see it because I think he did himself a disservice by starting to piece everything together before he was even on the roster.
A little bit of breaking news here. Aaron Rodgers is on the Pat McAfee show live right now as we speak, and he just confirmed, he said, since Friday, I've made it clear that my intention is to play for only the New York Jets. He said that the wait is right now because the Packers are trying to find some compensation and try to make things work via trade. So if there was any hoopla about whether Aaron wants to come back to the NFL, he just confirmed it on the Pat McAfee show. And at this point, he's saying it's the Packers' fault as to why the deal has not gone through yet. So to go on Troy's point a little bit, at this point, the Packers are probably like, look, you only gave us one destination. All right, let's drop that price tag up at this point. So just want to add some little breaking news to that context and add some validity to Troy's point because it's a good one.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think, even if you look at the Rams situation, obviously, it doesn't look good right now for them, but they just won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. And you look at the Jets, coaching staff to where it's like, if Saleh doesn't, perform well or even make the playoffs this year, he could be gone. The GM could be gone. I think there's, sacrifices, and I'm sure that, the Jets fan base and, obviously the front office, if they could, make some, a true run with the young talent that they have, I think at the end of the day, it will be worth it and it'll help them keep their jobs at the end of the day. What do you think about it on that end? I know it doesn't look great long term, but, in the short term, I think it's, obviously the best move for them.
If I'm not mistaken, Saleh hasn't had a winning season yet with the Jets. So I think at some point, the development long road that is ideal for every single franchise and that every franchise wants to go through, at this point, he doesn't have the patience nor the cachet to do that. I know he has a great track record as a defensive coach, great track record with the Niners. But at some point, this is a winners loss league, and he hasn't been winning with the Jets. So I get it. We all want the rookie quarterback, like 5-year cheap deal and build a team that way. But if I'm Saleh, if I'm that GM, Joe Douglas, who, hasn't put together a winning product since he's been there, that's a fan base who's hungry. Y'all know New York media ain't no joke. New York fan base ain't no joke. And I know the LA fan base right now is probably upset, that the Rams stink now. But you guys got to celebrate a nice run. I know they won one Super Bowl, but prior to that, they made a Super Bowl. They made the playoffs majority of those years. It wasn't like they were trash and then won a Super Bowl. Like, the Rams had a nice 6-year run, if we're being, let's be honest here for a second. They just stink now, and they're going to stink for a very long time. if you're the Jets, do you make that similar move for a fan base that has been starving since I've been alive? I mean, probably since the Mark Sanchez days. And Mark Sanchez is on TV now. That's how long it's been.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's interesting.
Then,
I heard a good point.
Oh no, you got it. You go.
Right. Oh, I was going to say, I heard a great point from LeVar Arrington on the radio recently. Like you said, Carl, they the Rams were relevant, but would you give up, 10 years of being irrelevant? And I'm not going to use 10 years as the example, but like you said, I think the Jets are going for broke. They do have a young nucleus, but these guys are going to be due some big contracts soon. Garrett Wilson, as you mentioned, guys on the defensive side of the ball, Sauce Gardner, all these guys are going to be up for big deals. So this is kind of going to be a 2 or 3 year window without a doubt for the Jets. So it's going to be exciting to see, because if it ends up resulting in 0 rings, I think they really set themselves back yet again, and the Jets will be back to being irrelevant in no time.
Now, I think there's a ton of teams, making some great moves. I wish the Browns would make some moves, honestly, just, as a personal favorite. But I do want to touch on, I mean, there's a ton of teams to touch on now, but I do want to touch on the Bears for a second. We haven't talked, since their news, trading the pick, getting what is number 9, getting the number 61 pick as well in this draft. And then they got a 2024 first rounder and a 2025 second rounder, and they got DJ Moore. So I think, as of right now, and maybe until the Aaron Rodgers thing goes through, I would say the Bears right now are winning, free agency, are winning, the offseason right now. You look at Tremaine Edmonds, I forgot about him too. They brought him in from the Bills. And so you look at that roster and you look at the team that they had last year. They're working on hopefully they work on the O-line a little bit more. I know they got a guard, Nate Davis. So hopefully they continue to work on that O-line with the draft and, the rest of the offseason. But as far as receivers, I think they took a huge step up. Now you got DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, and you got Mooney. The receivers. And then, look at the defense. You had Tremaine Evans. You got Brisker from last year. We'll see what they maybe do in the draft and who they take. They also got another linebacker, TJ Edwards too. So you look at the moves that the Bears are making, and you look at a franchise where it's like hungry fan base like New York. Coaching staff is pretty new, but they got guys in there who are willing to take some chances, like the GM, who's a former player. And so I think it's very exciting to see what the Bears are doing. And I think, the Jets are going to obviously take a page out of their playbook. And I think these teams they see that they got a good young core. The Bears, you got Brisker from Penn State, and then you got Justin Fields as their quarterback and things like that. And you got DJ Moore and Claypool and all those guys. Now it's time to just go win, get the pieces, to find the right pieces and go win. So I want to hear your thoughts on the Bears, or just also any other franchises that you think are making, big splashes this offseason so far.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the nose. The Bears, without a doubt, to me, the best offseason. I do think Carolina got fleeced in that trade. That's one that's had me scratching my head since this all started. I mean, unless they truly got their franchise quarterback circled, which I don't know who it's going to be. It's going to be Bryce Young. I don't know if it's going to be Anthony Richardson. It's going to be interesting to see, but where they go. But no, the Bears have gotten better. I think the biggest question mark this year for the Bears is we've seen Justin Fields do it with his legs. I mean, he's arguably the greatest runner since Michael Vick, and he may end up breaking all of Michael Vick's records. He's been amazing. But can he distribute the ball around the field to guys like Mooney, Claypool, and now DJ Moore? I think that's the biggest question mark for the Bears. They've depended so heavily on their ground game. Fields running the ball, going crazy. Can he distribute the ball? Can he throw for, can he go 20 of 27 for 250 and 3 touchdowns? I think that's the biggest question mark for the Bears is, are they going to be able to find a way to distribute the ball around that offense? But they're going to be tough to stop. If they can, boy, I mean, teams are going to have a real tough time stopping his legs and his arm. But it'll be interesting to see if his arm can take the next step at the NFL level.
Hmm. And I think that, even with that division, I think it's, with Aaron leaving, it leaves some room. Obviously the Vikings are, still the Vikings with Jettis and their young or their core right now. I know they're looking to move Dalvin Cook as well. So I don't know if that's like official or anything, or if anything has, been said about that. But the Vikings right now, still have, Dalvin and, the talent that they have on the team. They're also looking to move Harrison Smith. So we'll see what happens in that division. But, Aaron leaving, I think that gives them some room to, make a strong push for sure. And get to the playoffs. Um, but as far as NFL free agency, I would say those are the two biggest things. Aaron Rodgers and the Bears so far. We got the draft coming up April 22nd. A bunch of pro days and things going on right now with young talent. I haven't even heard much about the draft really, and maybe obviously it's because of the free agency and things like that. But I feel like even this year it hasn't been much, conversations about it. Like, because obviously this free agency happens every year, but I just feel like this year is just more about the players who are already in the league rather than the players that are coming into the league. And so, before we move on from before we move on from the NFL into March Madness, I do want to touch on Lamar Jackson. Obviously, that's another big point that can be made to where he gets the non-exclusive franchise tag. And so I mean I think it's a tricky situation just because I think he deserves what he's asking for. If you look at his resume, I think he deserves what he's asking for. If you look at quarterbacks that are coming out that teams are raving over, the Bryce Youngs. I know Bryce Young is smaller, but still similar talent, skill set. If you look at, CJ Stroud, what he did against Georgia, I wouldn't have said this if he didn't play like this against Georgia, but the way he played against Georgia, I see that he's mobile. I see he's elusive. I see he can make all the throws. Like, I see he's that similar skill set as Lamar as well. And then you got AR-15, Anthony Richardson. Now, I think is a project. But if you look at that skill set and you look at that type of player, like I feel like if Lamar didn't have the success that he hasn't had, I don't think teams would be looking at Anthony Richardson the same way. So I say all that to say, clearly teams are valuing these type of quarterbacks with this skill set. And so for him to not be able to get the deal, is it a little bit of owners, trying to get back at the Browns to where it's like, yo, the Browns made this one move. It'll never happen again. So don't even we're going to make an example out of Lamar. Like no one else is going to get that type of deal. Or is it just, the long waiting game because he doesn't have an agent? There's a lot of scenarios. So I think teams do value his skill set though. And if you look at his resume, I think he deserves all the money. But at the end of the day, we'll see what these owners do if they're like, because if someone does give him the contract, now it's Burrow or now it's, Josh Allen. Like now the quarterbacks coming after are demanding that same type of money. So before we move to March Madness, definitely want to get your takes on Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's getting a raw deal without a doubt. It's just, it's interesting, these NFL general managers, there's so many cases where it works out and so many where it doesn't. You look at guys like Dak Prescott. I'm a big Cowboys fan. I mean, as of right now, it still hasn't worked out. Got the big money deal. You just look at, I mean, we'll see what happens. The Deshaun Watson, the jury's still out, but, he didn't pan out last year. We'll see if he has a much better year this year, having the training camp and all that, but another big money deal where it didn't pan out. So I think a lot of these, Russell Wilson, another, he set the Broncos back who knows how many years at this point. So I don't want to put Lamar in those categories. The guy's an MVP, but Russell Wilson was too. I just think general managers are getting gun shy to throw around this kind of money because if it doesn't work out, you really set your franchise back. And as of right now, the best case is a Patrick Mahomes, right? He's got his team there each and every year. but we haven't seen anything like him, right? Every other quarterback from Prescott, like I said, to Russell Wilson, the list goes on and on. Matthew Stafford, he got his Super Bowl, but, the Rams are in cap hell now as well. So I think a lot of these GMs are really trying to avoid cap hell, going all in on a quarterback and then ultimately having it backfire, because there's a lot of case studies where it has backfired.
Yeah, the Lamar Jackson situation is unique. I mean, obviously, Dak Prescott had to get franchise tagged with his team. Kirk Cousins had to do it with the Commanders back in the day. But Lamar is different because he is an MVP caliber quarterback. Those other two guys, number one MVPs. Lamar Jackson is one of one in his way. And his situation is bigger than just himself, because he has Jalen Hurts coming up behind him, who's going to get a deal coming up soon. Joe Burrow's going to get a deal soon. Justin Herbert's going to get a deal soon. So he's going to set the precedent for all of those guys, because they're going to walk into negotiations and say, look, y'all saw his number? Well, I need to top that, or I need to match that to a certain extent. On the flip side, if you're the Ravens, I don't think you can push and prolong this negotiation any further, because these guys are getting paid this offseason. So, I mean, if you're the Ravens, how do you want to do this? Do you want to, keep hurting Lamar Jackson's feelings with not giving him the number that he wants? Or do you want to drive the price tag up to where you really can't afford him at that point? So I think he deserves what he's looking for. I know Deshaun Watson kind of messed up the market for quarterbacks across the league, and maybe deservingly so. Maybe these quarterbacks, you guys put so much worth in them. You guys, protect them with all these rules and make them the face of your franchise. But don't be surprised when they start getting the worth and they maybe start asking for it, right? And they start demanding these fully guaranteed contracts. And I know people want to talk about injuries and play. You're right. You're 100%. This is a very physical game. This game, you can fall off a cliff overnight. We just saw it with Russell Wilson. But having said that, though, that's the price you pay when you want these caliber of guys and when you put them on this pedestal. You can't, have your crow and eat it too. You can't make these guys, these elite money makers, make fans come to the stadium because you got these elite talents. But then on the back end, be like, hey, by the way, I don't want to pay you for 4 or 5 years just for if you get hurt. Like, no, you got to compensate me what I'm worth. So it'll be interesting because Lamar Jackson's situation is going to affect quarterback markets for not just this year, but I believe for years to come. I think Deshaun Watson's a little outlier. He's not going to get that deal. But his situation is definitely going to be a huge impact on quarterback negotiations for a while.
Yeah. And Troy, just because you mentioned that you're a Cowboys fan, I'm a huge fan of Stephon Gilmore. So very excited for your ball club. And also you guys are bringing back Tony Pollard. Obviously with the franchise tag, and I mean, it sucks he got injured, but that's going to be huge, having Tony Pollard back and then also bringing in Stephon Gilmore. So, I mean, the Cowboys are there. I mean, I feel like the roster has been there for years. So we'll just see if, what happens at the last minute of the game next year's a championship game. So we'll see.
I think they need a receiver. If they can go get DeAndre Hopkins or a healthy Odell Beckham, I think that's what they need at this point. I'm kind of curious if they go either route. They need that receiver. I think that's a huge deal to them. But yeah, I love that defensive move. Love it.
Mm-hmm. And now we get into March Madness. Outside of probably NFL free agency, March Madness is the next big thing. And so, Troy, I want you to start this one off just because, you have a bracket going. You have some giveaways, or not giveaways, I guess, but, opportunities for people to, win some awards based on their brackets and things like that. So definitely want you to start this one off and, give some insight so that listeners could. We'll put this out today. We'll put this out later today, and then hopefully they'll listen and get signed up by the first game tomorrow. So take it away.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's you can check it out on our Instagram at It's Troy West. We've got a bracket. We're giving out $500 to first place. No questions asked. Whoever gets first is getting $500 cash, and then second through fifth will get an NFL jersey of their choice. We have a little deal with NFL.com, and they're going to give us jerseys. So you get a jersey of your choice, second through fifth. And if you get a perfect bracket, I've got a deal where you're actually going to get a Rolex watch. Got to have a perfect bracket. Hard to do. That rarely ever happens, but you never know. So check that out at TroyWins.com. I've got a couple brackets filled out myself. I'm excited. I will say I've done a ton of research the last couple of weeks. I think there's going to be a lot of upsets, but I also think we are top heavy. I think with the Houstons, the Arizonas, the Alabamas, I think these teams are so much better than the underdog stories like the Oral Roberts, the Vermonts of the world, the Kennesaw States. These teams, to me, I watched them very closely last week in their conference tournaments, and there's really just not a good Cinderella story that sticks out to me, at least right now. So I'm curious your guys' thoughts and how it will transpire. I think if we chat next week, we'll know who's in the Sweet 16 or who's in the Elite Eight, and I'll be really curious if it is some of these sleepers because in the end, I think Alabama's going to be cutting down the nets, even with all the distractions they have with Brandon Miller and all that kind of stuff. They've prevailed. They look outstanding in the SEC tournament. They're well balanced. They've got everything. They got size. They got speed. They can shoot the three. So they're my pick to cut down the nets. But, not always is it the number one seed overall that wins it either. So those are kind of my thoughts. And, yeah, like I said, get in your bracket. It's free. And the winner will take home $500.
I have to say I agree that it is top heavy, but to be honest, I've only watched the top 5 teams, 10 teams this year, and I will agree. I think out of watching all of the the conference games and the championship games, I think Alabama I know they're a number one seed, but I really think Alabama has it. They're explosive. Brandon Miller, he's fun to watch. He can shoot it from the three. I think they said he's shooting like 60% from like when open from three, which was crazy. I looked at their side. I don't think it's like too crazy for them to even get to the Elite Eight. Like I would say the best team would be maybe San Diego State or Virginia. On that side, obviously there's probably going to be some upsets, but that's what I would say. And then even to make it to the Final Four, I think Arizona is a good ball club. But I don't know. Alabama, I really like Alabama to make it to the Final Four at least. If they win it, we'll see. But that's going to be my pick as well. I hate that I have to pick a number one, but they're impressive. They're really fun to watch. I'm looking at the bracket right now. I don't see. Kansas is good. I don't know if their coach is back. I know their coach was missing for the tournament game. I think he was sick or ill. He's back. Okay, so I do like Kansas. Then Texas, they obviously play well in that tournament as well. But a sleeper, whoever Purdue. I'll let Carl take this one because he's been saying that one. So I won't steal that one. But a sleeper, I'm a big fan of Providence. I think Providence could, they play Kentucky first round. I think they could give Kentucky some problems. They obviously play in the Big East, which I think is probably one of the best conferences in basketball. So they'll be well prepared. I think they're well coached. They just, got to hit some shots. And I would say, Sweet 16, I think they could get there. Maybe until they run into like a Marquette or somebody. But I do think they could get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, you guys are all right. This is a top-heavy year, but I'm going to hate on one of these top-heavy teams right now. I've seen Purdue play 3 times this year, and take this to the bank, whatever phrase you want to use in terms of betting the house or whatever. I'm not a fan of Purdue, man. And it's not like I don't think they're a good ball club. They are. They clearly are. I mean, they dominated all year, especially with Zach Edey. You guys got to watch them. Even if you aren't a Purdue fan, just watching someone who's 7'4" and play basketball and who can actually move up and down the floor and has ballerina feet is actually cool to watch. Having said that, they don't have a guard who can dribble with their head up, and that's a huge problem come March Madness time. As we all know, anyone who's ever watched March Madness, it's about guard play, point blank period. Can you have because that's who has the ball majority of the game. And I don't think they have the requisite guard play to make a run. I saw it last week against a Penn State team who hounded them the last 5 minutes of the game, and they could barely bring the ball up the court. And that hurt a Purdue team who plays in a conference, by the way, who hasn't had a ton of success in the tournament anyways. I believe the Big Ten hasn't won a national title since Michigan State in the 2001, I want to say. So that's how long that conference just their style of ball doesn't really translate to the tournament for that reason. They just like to ground and pound, inside out type of game, and it's not conducive to really guard up and down the floor type of style of play. So that's I guess one prediction that I would like to throw out there is Purdue, and also to go off of that in that same bracket. And similar to Crawford, I don't watch a ton of college basketball, but since I am an ACC guy coming from Q's, I did watch Duke after they pummeled my Orange earlier in February. And this is a team who, if you would have said back in, I don't know, early January that Duke would be a sleeper to make a Elite Eight Final Four run, they would look at you side-eye. They won 9 games in a row. They're clicking on all cylinders right about now. This is a team who had 3 out of the top 4 freshmen coming into this season. So this team is talented. But clearly those young guys needed some time to gel and get things wrapped up a little bit. I wouldn't be too shocked if that's a team who can come out of that region with Purdue. In my eyes, I wouldn't be shocked if Memphis or FAU gives them a run for their money and round to 32. That's kind of how I feel. Those are just a couple of things that I see. Houston with Marcus Sasser, depending on his health, he missed the title game, so Houston beat up on them pretty well. If he can come back, I like their chances. But I'm excited. Even as a guy who doesn't watch a ton of regular season college ball, this time of year, how can you not watch it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you even look at last year. Was it UAB who had Jetty or Jelly? I watched him play a couple games, and I didn't know his name, didn't watch him all year, but like really didn't watch college basketball that much either. But watching a player like that and just knowing that there's an opportunity for an unknown player to rise up and become known and take over March is what I'm excited about. And I also like UConn too. I think UConn's a good ball club. VCU as well. So I think they're in the same side. They might actually end up playing each other if they win the first round. But I'd like those 2 ball clubs too.
I will also add, though, by the way, if we are going to speak about the play of March Madness and styles translating to this time of year, I think we got the Marquette in there a little bit. I mean, that's a ball club. Shaka Smart got them rolling. I mean, you watch his teams at Texas, and they really didn't ever look like his VCU teams. And I'm talking about them teams who get up and down the flow, hound you, turn the ball over, all that good stuff. And once again, I watched a couple Marquette games. I'm not going to act as if I'm an expert in anything. Having said that, they look more similar to his VCU teams. If y'all don't remember, about 12 years ago in 2011, VCU made a Final Four run with Shaka Smart. So his style of play can translate as well. Let Marquette get – and I know I feel bad. I'm picking on Purdue's region. I know I really don't have no faith in them. But that's a team, Marquette. If they get the 3-ball falling, if they can, turn teams over like they did all year in the Big East, that's another ball club. Don't sleep. That's a team that can come out of that region, and I would not be surprised if they do so.
Agree.
So, and now let's take it to, let's wrap up with a look ahead to the NBA playoffs. I just want to give a quick shout out to the Cavs right now just because they're balling. But I'm excited for the NBA. I'm excited for the playoffs this year. I think it's competitive. I think it's, one of those years that we don't know who's going to win it. A lot of teams are making a late push. A lot of great teams or great franchises are also like far back right now, and looking to make a push. So I think that's also interesting because you look at the Lakers who are 10th, and that's by 2 games. So a Western Conference that's very tight. You got the Thunder. I think the Thunder got a nice squad, but I mean I would not rather. I don't care if they make the playoffs. The Mavericks are sitting at 9. They got Kyrie and Luka are out right now, but I'm sure they'll be back pretty soon. So I just know I need to get, as a basketball fan, I need to get the Mavericks and the Suns in the playoffs. I don't care what round it is. I would love for it to go 7 games, but I watched the Mavericks and Suns regular season game that just happened maybe a couple weeks ago. I think KD and Book both have like 40 or 30. Kyrie and Luka both had 30. I just need that. It's like AAU basketball out there. I just want to see it for 7 games straight. I want to see what duo can bring their team to victory. I do like the Lakers. I think they're having fun. Deloading. I think he's balling. But on the East, I feel like the East is real top heavy. I think, I would say top three. I don't think the Cavs are there yet. I do think they'll compete, but I don't think they're in that conversation to make the finals or make the Eastern Conference Finals. So in the East, I think it is what it is in the East. Like top three teams, Bucks, Celtics, 76ers are probably one of those three will probably take it. But as far as the West, you could go the Jazz, they're solid. You could go 1 through 11, really, 1 through 10, with the Lakers being 10 on who could come out the West. So that's my take on NBA, and then the playoffs coming up. But want to hear your take too.
Yeah, I was one that had, about 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, right as the Kevin Durant trade was made, that was the one I went and took to the bank. A little bit worried about that. They hadn't lost the game with them. They were 4-0 with him in the lineup, and they were clicking. They looked good. Him and Booker looked like they've been playing together a long time. Chris Paul was distributing the ball at a really high level. They look solid. I'm a little bummed out that he went out with the ankle injury. I know he'll be back, but will they have enough games under their belt to carry that momentum into the playoffs? But like you said, Sean, it's wide open. The Denver Nuggets are reeling right now. Memphis has got all sorts of question marks. Will Morant even be back? At this point, will he be back for the playoffs, or is he going to hang it up for the year? So those are your 1 and 2 seeds in the West. The Kings look good. They're a real fun team to watch. Fox is playing out of this world right now. They're a lot of fun. The Mavericks not playing that great, but maybe they start hitting stride at some point. Like you said, the Lakers. The West is wide open. Almost 1 through 10. It's unbelievable to see it. I don't think all 10 teams can win it, but it's a really good conference. And like you said, in the East, Celtics have been reeling a little bit, but I think they'll get back to their form. Bucks are obviously playing out of this world. But do they have enough to win it all? Sixers are obviously there. Knicks, Cavs, they both look good, but it's going to be fun. In the end, I got to stick with my team, which is the Suns. I think with a healthy KD and Booker and Ayton and Paul, those 4 guys right there, I think if they stay healthy through the playoffs, that's going to be a real tough out. But I'll be honest with you, I was a lot more confident a month ago than I am now that Durant's gone out for a second time this year. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to the playoffs, but I'm going to stick with the Suns, but that's because I was with them a month ago. I don't feel as good about that.
I feel you, because I think if all things were equal, I think everyone or most people will pick the Suns to come out. That star power, that 1-2 punch at the top is just can't be matched. I guess the Mavericks could, but the Mavericks just don't have no depth behind that. But you're right. There's question marks with all those teams. Every single last one of them. Is there a more disrespected 1 seed in recent memory? As a Cavs fan, the Nuggets are better than that Hawks team with Al Horford and Kyle Korver, because they have Jokic. But it seems like it's getting to that level of disrespect of where no one gives a damn that they're the 1 seed because they think they're that fraudulent, right? So that's kind of how people are viewing the Nuggets, and that's just hilarious considering it's the Western Conference. It's supposed to be the big and bad conference, Having said that, the West has had issues this year just because of injury. Everyone's been injured in the West. The Grizzlies' best player has had issues off the court. There's just been a bunch of issues in the West. And in the East, I'm interested because I hope everyone stays healthy in that conference just for one playoff run. Just for one. Can I get a playoff run where the Bucks can play the Celtics, where Giannis has Middleton by his side? Can I get a playoff series where Embiid is actually healthy out there for all 7 games and where Harden doesn't have a hamstring issue? Can I get that type of playoff run? And I'm not blaming issues, because issues are a part of the game, and every team who makes it that far deserves to go that far. But as a fan and as a spectator, when you got to hear with narratives, and we're all on Twitter, we all see the noise, it would be cool for once if we can just see it settle between the lines instead of with our imagination. So to see Giannis go through a run and be like, you know what, I ain't have my Batman, my Robin last year. I ain't going out like I did last year. And then for if you Embiid, you like, look, I've been shafted out of these MVPs the last couple of years. Let me show y'all why I believe I am that boy. So it's fun. I can't wait. Both conferences got their own storylines that should be very, very interesting to see. Who knows if the Heat ever turn it around? I know that old ball club with Eric Spoelstra, I'll never count them out. Jimmy Butler, as we all 3 of us know in the playoffs, turns it up. I don't know why he turns into baby Kobe that time of year, but he does. Who knows? This Knicks team has been one of the top 3 ball clubs the past 2 months. I don't know how, once again. Don't know if that translates to the postseason, but nonetheless, The Knicks have been playing well. Outside of that Warriors run for like 4 years where everyone knew that they were going to win the title and blase, or you knew LeBron was going to the championship, right? This is what's cool about this season. You can throw a dart at the wall and be like, damn, if that team, I can see that the path for them to make it to the finals. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I think this is one of the best moments in sports right now, or best time for sports. You got March Madness, the free agency, you got the draft also coming up, and then now you got the NBA playoffs that are about to start. And so, I mean, this compared to maybe NFL playoffs, I would say this is probably one of the best times for sports right now. And so I'm excited as far as March Madness. I think NFL free agency is almost over. We think, obviously with the Rodgers news and Lamar news, I think there could be some changes there. But and then NBA playoffs. Like I'm locked in on the NBA this year. I can't wait to see what the Cavs do, to be honest, because I do think they make some noise. But I just think at the end of the day, it'll be motivation for next year. I think we need. I don't know how, but I would love if we could get like a Mikal Bridges or something like that. But I do like the Suns. If the Suns. I wouldn't mind. I just want that one matchup. I just want that Mavericks matchup, and then after that, the Suns could go on and win the entire thing. It wouldn't matter to me. But again, I appreciate you guys hopping on. This was a great conversation. Like I said, we'll definitely have to do this again next week. We know with a recap of these first couple rounds of March Madness. Also seeing how the NBA season will end up and finish up, and also see if Rodgers finally signs and where Lamar is and whatever the rest of the stuff that happens for the NFL. But appreciate you guys hopping on Varsity House, sports update. Continue to tune in, continue to subscribe, like, comment, share with your friends, and make sure you jump in that March Madness bracket. Troy wins. I'm hopping in it. I got my homies hopping in it just because if it's 1 year that I'm gonna have a perfect bracket, it better be the year that I can win a Rolex. So let's go.